Here we are, my babes, my beautiful people. We are here on the BeautyPro podcast, and I have a very special guest, Miss Vivienne McKinder. Hello, my dear. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Lovely to see you.
Absolutely. So, in case anybody watching has never heard of you or they have never even paid attention to the NAHA Awards, can you please tell everybody who you are?
I'll give you who I think I am versus my husband's
Okay.
version.
Oh, perfect.
Actually, I just recently asked Chat, what do I need to learn about who I am? And it was so
Oh,
profound. It was so profound. It was more insightful than my husband, who I love and adore, and ditto. And he just says it the way it is. In fact, one time he looked at one of my hairstyles, which was like an entry for NAHA, and it was big. And he said, "Honey, I have one very important question." What? Yeah. He said, "Where's the bird going to sit?" To answer your question, I've been in the
that's
industry a long time.
that's good. And the chat question. I'm gonna try that later. I love chat. I love Claude. AI is a big deal. We'll probably get into that later, but that's wonderful.
Yes, yeah. So I,
So,
I started my career at the London College of Fashion in London, and I did a 2-year program, which would be like a bachelor's degree here in the US. And I was originally going to be a hairdresser for film, theater, television, wasn't quite sure, but my college specialized in that. So we did everything from wig making to period hairstyles, and it was a 2-year program. And during my college holidays, I don't know where I got the idea from, but I thought I'm going to go to Vidal Sassoon's during my college holidays and take another course. So I went there and I saw this whole world of cutting hair, which was not what we were doing at college. And so I was super fascinated. And I thought, well, let's put the whole theatrical side on pause and let's go to Sassoon's and like learn whatever we can do. And I was offered a job. And I thought, well, okay, I'll take the job. And then as I kind of went through the ranks there, which is quite brutal, they knew I had a background in dance. They knew I had a background in theater regarding hair. So I found myself choreographing shows for Sassoons. I found myself on stage with them.
wow.
And I was thinking, I cannot believe I'm doing this because as an ex dancer, I was quite comfortable on the stage, but to do hair on the stage, I thought that was the weirdest thing ever. And so that was my humble beginning. Got really beaten up at Sassoons, as most people are, because of the
Mhm.
discipline. It's almost like going to ballet school, right? Nothing's ever good enough.
Yes, that is a perfect metaphor. That is, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and
You learn everything.
yeah, and then I went on to be an art director at Trevor Sorbie, which was incredible. And for any of you who don't know these iconic houses, based in the UK, really, really strong in the UK. And they were truly the innovators of so much work that every single one of you does today behind your
Mhm.
chair. So I was very fortunate to have truly pedigree training and to be pushed as hard as I was. And I saw innovations and I saw the most extraordinary things in color, in perming, and cutting, and design. And, it took me all over the world. I did fashion shows, have done shows in London, New York, and Paris, and done shows, hair shows, and events like that around the world. So it's been very, very colorful
Mm,
career.
I love it. I love it. I do. Do you feel that even though it was such a brutal training, emotionally, physically, even, do you feel like we need a little bit more of that?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
I am an ex dancer. So I
Mhm.
understand discipline as a dancer, and anyone who's in a sport or plays a musical instrument, you know that that discipline is a foundation that you're always refining.
Mhm.
And if you want to up your game, you up your discipline. They go kind of hand in hand because I think some of the greatest masters I've worked with, they do it when they don't feel like doing it. They
Mm.
still do the right thing when the wrong thing is happening. And they
Mhm.
have a tenacity and a determination that takes them to that next place. And When we quit and when we're a little bit of a snowflake, it's like, oh, it went wrong, I'm going to melt. It doesn't build your character, it doesn't build your skill set, because your skill set can only really grow when you're truly challenged and pushed.
Yes. So what would you tell stylists or anyone who's considering hairstyling? How would you what would you advise them? And what do they need to have to really succeed?
Well, I think one of the great things about our craft right now, when we see what's happening in the world, is that AI will, within the next 10 years, maybe even sooner, be taking so many jobs.
Mm,
And while automation is useful and helpful, and while AI is marvelous in many things and technology is, when it robs people's occupation, one has to pivot. And one of the beautiful things about right now is that a hairdresser is a very sweet spot. If
mm,
you really develop your people skills, like I always say, success in hairdressing is 80% psychology, 20% mechanics. So having a client feel comfortable in your chair, serving that client, understanding people's needs, customizing to them, pampering them, giving them a bit of a spa experience, whether it be the shampoo, whether it be a light shoulder rub, whatever it may be. Any
mhm.
human touch is another way of saying, well, maybe hairdressing will survive another year. Maybe hairdressing will survive another year because, surgeons and
Yeah.
more surgeons now are operating with robots. They're
Mhm.
saying in the future, surgeons won't be, it'll be robots. So if you look at the intricacy of surgery and you look at the intricacy of what we do, let's not be naive of what is possible. So I would say you've got to love people, first of all.
Mhm. Yeah.
You've got to love the creative process. You've also got to be really intrigued by problem solving because every person who
Mm.
sits in your chair has a problem.
Mhm.
Too long, too short, too this, too that, da, 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 da. It's something to something, right? And so to me, the creative process is not sticking a tree on someone's head. It's designing to who they are and discovering the best version of themselves.
Yeah. The best version of themselves. That's right. That's right. And we're always evolving too, so we can have different versions of the best version of ourselves. I love it.
We did a quiz just recently. I have a website that's now celebrating its 22nd year. So we were out before YouTube, we were out before everybody when nobody knew what a website really was in our industry. But anyway, we did a quiz it was about who's sitting in your chair and what influences a decision? What influences a style decision? Is it that the client's pulling your strings and you're just a puppet? Is it
Mhm.
that you're going to your favorite three hairstyles you put on everybody? Is
Yeah.
it fear that dictates? Like, what influences you? And so we were doing this evaluation, and it was like, well, if age influences you and you're really sensitive to that, a woman in her 16 to her 20s, she can get away with pretty much anything. But as we start getting into the mid 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, we're either a mother or we're more established in our career or we're in that building established place. And then when we're in our 60s, 70s, 80s, we're enjoying, the fruits of our
Mhm.
labors, hopefully, and so on and so forth. So there's a season for every woman from college to I got to get a job to I'm a mother to they left the nest, so did the husband. Now I'm back and I'm dating, and now I've got grandkids. So all of these are characters,
Yeah.
and designing to the character and designing to where she is now. And understanding, well, she used to want to be sexy, but now she just wants to feel feminine.
Mm.
She used to be a hopeless romantic, but now she just wants to be terribly practical.
Mm.
So it's
Yeah.
it's that sensitivity, and I always let that flavor what I do in my style selection.
Yes. And the only way we're going to know that is if we communicate clearly with our clients, clearly with our team. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Yes. So what with all of this, with working with the top names in the industry, What would you say was maybe your biggest failure or your biggest struggle that you overcame? And that can be personal or professional because what we do is so intertwined, but
Yeah.
what would you say?
I think that when you're working with people with such extraordinary standards, living up to those expectations is massive, because you don't want to fail. And it's never easy to step onto a stage when there's 3,000 people looking at you just waiting for you to fail, right?
Mm.
And so sometimes in life people are motivated by failure. I failed, I'm going to do harder. So that negative pushes them harder, faster, stronger. Some people are driven just by the inspiration. I'm so inspired, I'm going to do it, but inspiration fades away. So for myself, it was always living up to those expectations and truthfully never ever feeling good enough. And it was always like, no, there's something more I could do. I could have done it better. And I think when one's a perfectionist, which I am cursed with, um, and that comes again from a ballet background.
Yeah.
Again, nothing's ever good enough. Um, but when you're striving for perfection, I remember the very first, in the beginning of my career, when I was doing a lot of photo shoots, I would go thinking I must do my most perfect hairstyle. And I would perfect every detail. And it would almost be like I'm under a microscope making
Mm.
it perfect.
Hmm.
What I failed to do was look at the big picture, use my mirror, step back, stop, look at how she's going to be when she's got her fashion on and how she moves and all of that energy. So the model would get on set and the photographer would go, it doesn't work. And I think, oh, I'm not perfect
Yeah.
enough. So
Yeah.
they would carry on going down this ridiculous path of perfect, perfect. It gets tighter, it gets tighter, it gets tighter. Or in the salon doing a haircut, it gets shorter and shorter and shorter because you're pursuing this perfect, right?
Yeah.
The photographers would say, loosen it up and loosen it up. And I remember one photographer sprayed my model with water. He said, oh, that looks so much better. And I thought, well, why have me here if you're going to do that, right? But what he was really saying was, everything is so tight and so rigid and so
Uh-huh.
confined and so perfect. There's no movement. There's no relaxation. You've lost the feel. And the question is, how do you teach feel? How do you teach that emotion?
Right.
And I figured out how to do it, which is a whole other conversation. But that tortured me because I would leave saying I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough. And I remember I was on a shoot in New York and I went into the bathroom to cry because everything was going horribly wrong on set. And I thought, well, there's just one thing I'm going to do. I'm just going to cry. And so I go into the bathroom and there is this beautiful model in there and she's crying. So in between my tears and her tears, we're having this conversation. I said, well, why are you crying? She said, I just came from a Victoria Secrets casting and they told me I'm fat. And I'm looking at her thinking, you're a size 0, right? And she said, why are you crying? I said, because I suck as a hairdresser.
Well, the bonding moments, the most beautiful. Absolutely. Oh no. That's what we do to ourselves. We beat ourselves up.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned that you can't teach feel, but it probably is another like hour-long conversation, but very quickly, how do you teach that? Because we can't teach passion no matter how hard we try, but at the same time, we need to be surrounded by people like that. We need our teams to be like that. They need to feel ownership, feel creative. Like, how do we convey that?
Well, generally, we kind of live in our heads,
Yeah.
logical, because we
Mm.
have problem solving and we have the mechanics of what we do. But behind the mechanics of what we do is how the heart feels and how you feel in your gut, intuitive. And if you listen to intuition and you listen to the emotion of your heart, very often that's more of a truth than the nonsense going on in your head. So when, for example, I designed my consultation, I wanted to be sure it was head, heart, and gut. So
Mm.
the questions are emotional questions as well as logical questions. Um, much of this I truly learned working on photo shoots when either a creative director would come in or a fashion designer would come in, or the crew as a collective. When you're looking at creating the story of a beautiful image, there is there were things where they would talk about how large or small the scale,
Mm,
of what it's going to
mhm,
be. Is she in
mhm.
a black cocktail dress that's tiny, or is it huge and opulent, right? So the scale, the size, so that's kind of like the personality and the scale. So in our world, the scale would be how big or small is the hairstyle, how bright or dark, how bold, where is it? Does it whisper, scream, talk, shout? Where does that live? Because that's personality.
Mhm.
So then the next thing that we would always dive into is the fashion. Is the fashion boho and relaxed? Is she buttoned up and glamorous? Like that, what is that wheel? Are you turning it up or turning it down? And then the third wheel is the feel is the femininity. So is she androgynous? Is she boyish? Is she cute? Is she sexy? Is she sensual, romantic? So I look at them as three wheels. I'm turning it up, I'm turning it down, I'm turning
Mm.
it up, I'm turning it down. So I want to design to the inside of their head before I go to the outside. And I need to connect into how she feels.
Yeah.
Because I can look at a woman, and I've worked with enough beautiful people in my life where I can see, gosh, she's so beautiful, but she doesn't think so. She sees
Yeah.
the flaws, and I see the beauty. And so it's our job to bring that out. And when we get so confined by our industry teaches technique quite well. Right now, we're going through, and we have for the last 3 years through social media, lots of trick
Yeah.
cutting, which is
Yeah.
nonsense, right? It's
Mm.
such nonsense.
Yeah.
But when you look at the purity of technique, what is the most efficient way to go to from A to B? Is it repeatable? And is it going to be something where you're doing one haircut, not two? Detailing
Mhm.
usually ends up being the second haircut. Well, if you get it right the first time with the right tool and the right technique, there's no reason to detail. Should
Mhm.
maybe a dust, but it shouldn't be a second haircut. So to me, our industry does quite well at teaching technique, but our industry hasn't dived into what I think is the silent crisis.
Mhm.
You really discern putting the right look on the right person.
I love it. Yes, that I was actually going to ask you, what is it that the industry is just not getting right? And I would have to agree with you with this. So, you have an education company, right? Like you are educating stylists all around the world. If I remember correctly, you were doing something with New York Fashion Week, and stylists could come work with you for that weekend, or right?
Yeah.
Okay. Could you
Yes.
could you expound on that a little bit more?
Yeah, well, Fashion Week is always interesting because you're working with a designer who has a very clear brief. So again, it goes back to those three wheels. What is
Mhm.
the character, and
Right.
what is the fashion sensibility? And so, for example, one season we did a very strong nod to Vidal Sassoon geometric haircuts from the '60s, and these girls were wearing pretty expansive gowns, and the hair, even though it was all geometric wigs, made these gowns look super modern. So if they'd had had like a chignon, it
Mhm.
would look really dated. So
Yeah.
he was a brilliant, Milan is his name, brilliant designer. And so we designed uh, 35 wigs, cut 35 wigs for him before the show, which was pretty epic because he always has huge shows with like 50 models, and you've got 3 hours to get everybody together. So it can be a logistic nightmare to
Yeah,
just
I'm already sweating.
yeah, but somehow it works, and you kind of like do the thing. So that's kind of that part. My educational company, I've been online now for like it's like our 22nd year. So we have probably about 2,000 videos on board. So obviously they're divided into courses. But what I realized was important is that just like we're seeing each other right now, we do live events every Monday and Tuesday. So what my strategy is, you watch the video before class. Now
Mhm.
we create it together. I guide you through it. After that, we
Nice.
take it into, we photograph it because I want people to build a portfolio. Then I
Yeah.
teach them through AI how to not touch their hair, but to manipulate it. So we take these scary dolly heads and we morph them into these fabulous fashion pieces. So I'm teaching people how to curate and design beautiful images. So I'm saying, right, you went from the technician, now I want you to shift to the designer because this is your
Mm,
voice, this is your brand. I want you to make it look expensive because if you make it look cheap, people won't value it and they'll expect you to be cheap. So it's all about elevation, the quality of the
mm,
image.
yeah.
And how you put the fashion together, how you put the makeup together. So I teach them how to art direct. And because I've been art directed so much in my career, which I so enjoy, um, I know I can hear the voice of a fashion stylist saying, "Oh, it's too big," or I can hear a fashion stylist say, that does not work, right? And I'm thinking, well, it's lovely hair, but I've looked at it in isolation. So
Yeah.
I teach people how to create those images because what I want is for them to have a portfolio of their favorite hairstyles,
Mhm.
expand upon it, and just
Mhm.
really have something where it's front, side, and back. It 100% is their hair. We get rid of the mannequin's face. We put on a new face. We put fashion on it. We get rid of the cape, we get rid of the pole up the neck, and we give her fashion. And some of the images are amazing. And what I'm trying to do is train people's eye.
Yes.
So I can say, well, that's really great, but it's very classic. So why did you go and do that? Right. So
Right.
that's really, really, really important. So that's what we do. It's fun.
Oh,
It's a lot of
it
fun.
is it is absolutely fun, and even you have pivoted and used the tools available like AI, and you've integrated it all. That's beautiful. Oh my goodness, I love it.
But I just did a series and I did it with AI because in the past I would have been reaching out to illustrators and so on and so forth. That's what
Yeah.
I've done. So I just asked AI, would you please give me an apple body type, a banana body type, a pear body type, and an hourglass? And I had AI give me hairstyles, but in the back they were just boxes. So square, box, 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 like long hair box. So
Right.
clearly, if a woman is horizontally challenged and she
Mm,
has wide hips and she has narrow shoulders, she's a pear. So if you
yeah.
go and do a horizontal line, all you do is emphasize the width of her
Yes.
body instead of an elongation. And then the same thing applies with an apple because apple is round in the center with skinny legs. And so again, if you do a horizontal line, whether it be a bob or a
Mhm.
lob or
Mhm.
lower, it's going to create more width and as opposed to
Mhm.
stretching them out. So I was saying to my hairdressers, because I see my hairdressers every week in these
Yeah.
courses. So I said,
Yeah.
right, this week I want you to all stand your client up. You turn her away from the mirror. You give her a hand mirror. So she's looking at her reflection. You don't look at her person. You look at her reflection. It's less invasive. And then what you do is you say to the lady, I'm just going to stand you up to make sure your hairstyle balances with your body type. I don't know
Mhm.
why my camera is doing strange things here.
I know, I see it.
It's weird, right?
It's what it is.
So
I've accepted it.
I'm flashing for some strange reason. Anyway, so I say to them, just
Yeah.
elegantly,
Yeah.
oh no, I can't do that. Oh no, I'd be so embarrassed. It's like, hold on. This is not about you, hairdresser. It's about
Yeah.
your client. If you go
Yeah.
and do a very short hairstyle on that body type, you have not helped her at all. You've just made her look bigger than she was. And next time, if she does come back, she'll say it was too short. And you're just thinking, maybe it was just too short for the nape of the neck. No, 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 no. And truthfully, when body type influences face shape, generally speaking, that's a huge thing. So I'm
Mhm.
just going to wiggle here and see why this is doing what it's doing. Doesn't usually do this.
It's just because it's me. That's okay.
Isn't it retrograde? Everything it's happening can.
It absolutely. Murphy's Law is in full effect.
Yeah.
Great. So happy about it. Well, okay, so with all of this, what do you want to be remembered for?
Good taste.
I can see it. I can see it. Yeah.
I
Do you
love
rate
I love things to just look fabulous head to toe. whether
Yeah.
it's long, whether it's punk, whether it's gothic. I, I want fresh, I want innovation, but I think good taste is what I'm trying to teach now. Yes, I teach the mechanics, but going back to the body type thing,
Yeah, 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 finish.
I
Finish.
had I had asked these stylists to do this, right? So confession time came. How many of you did? Oh no, all the excuses came forward, but a few did. And those who've continued doing it say the most amazing things. They say, I made a totally different decision about how I was going to do this lady's hair because I recognized for the first time that that would have been inappropriate. And then I say, and I'm going to ask all of you here, how many of you seen your client walk out and you go, oh, bit bold, right?
You're like,
When
oops.
she's right underneath your nose, how can you see it? When she's sitting in
Mm.
the chair, how can you see it? When she's camouflaged with a cape, how can you see it? You can only see it by standing up. And so then I will say to them, right, before your client goes to the backwash, if she's got hair that's sort of around this, sort of like through this region here, like
Mm.
here, even here,
Mm.
but
Mhm.
through to here, sometimes what I'll do is, so say the client's got hair to her bust and I want to bring it up to the shoulders. Her hair is dry, so my hair dry is living here. So if I say, let's cut that length, I'll just take a piece and I go chop and I look at where it lives, it's dry. I go, oh, do you like that length? Yeah, I like that length. Now, when she comes back after the shampoo, that length usually is 2 inches longer. So I never end up cutting hair too short because I designed
Mm.
it to her body type.
Wow, that is incredible.
And I know it's so simple, but that's what if you stack good taste and fabulous and good taste and fabulous, because, everyone worries about price in our industry.
Yeah.
I concern myself on value.
Mhm. As we should though, right? Because our education, many times I try to tell my team this, and even sometimes the clients when they push the right buttons. Our education can be more expensive than some of their schooling as doctors and lawyers and all of those professional industries. I think we should. I think we should be more valuable, not only as ourselves as humans, but as artists.
Well, yeah, I think if you truly serve, don't sell, serve, you're really discovering where that person lives. Now, some people need guidance, some people need coaching, some people value you teaching them. This is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, this is how you're going to blow. If you're doing a big makeover on somebody and it's a completely different blow drying technique, film it. Ask the client to put a camera there and video you blow drying it so that tomorrow, when you're not there, she remembers, oh
Mm.
yeah, she did it here, she did it there. Because most of the time when you do a new hairstyle, the client goes back and blow dries it exactly the same way of the previous hairstyle, which is not what that hairstyle should be. So, there's that's added value. It's standing the client up and designing head to toe is adding value. Seeing them for who they are is adding value. A 5-star consultation, which is really where I kind of hone into everything. And that comes from failure on photo shoots, failure backstage at fashion shows, failure on a stage, failure in the salon. I can list the failures. It's learning. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, right? So
Mm.
it's nice to get both. But
Mhm.
you take those and you say, right, next time I'm going to do it differently, right? And it's not. I always say, if you're going to beat yourself up, just allow it for 20 seconds, get it out of the way, have your pity party, bathroom, here we go, cry, get over it, come back, and now say, what did I learn? What do I need to do differently? Because this lesson came to teach me something profound. Don't
Yeah.
waste the pain of that lesson, move on. And sometimes
Mhm.
it's like, well, I got to go back to the drawing board. I better start practicing this. Like, I would never go on a job. Say I was on a job and they said, right, we want you to do like a Hollywood wave, whether it be a finger wave, a muscle wave, whatever the wave may be. There's so many ways to wave hair.
Mhm.
I would be practicing and I would look at who the model is and I would try and get as close to the hair that she has. And I would practice and practice. I'd practice my speed. I would photograph it. I would evaluate it and say to myself, is that worthy of, being a photograph, and so on and so forth. So you never stop practicing. I mean, it's part of your craft, right?
Yeah.
If you view it as a job, it's just a means to an end. You groom, you go home. But if
Mhm.
it's a career And when it's a career, doors will open to you that are extraordinary. And we are so privileged that, okay, so I've done a princess in Paris. Like, how did that happen? Well, it happened, right? And I've done celebrities and I've done loads of models, supermodels, all sorts of stuff. But you're exposed to fascinating people. So you've got to be really open to learn. And you know what I think is the most attractive thing a human being can have?
Please share.
A hunger to learn.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I want to learn more. Asking questions and wow, that is so fascinating. How do you do it? Not judging self, not beating self up. No, it's that hunger to learn, and that is so rich.
Yeah. Do you ever you obviously the passion that you have is overflowing. But do you ever have moments where you wish you would have continued to be a ballerina, to be a dancer, to have that career you do?
Yeah, if I'd have had the body type for it, yes, because the passion was 100% there. And I was in my moment, I was good, but I wanted to go to the Royal Ballet, but I was too big, even though I ate a grapefruit a day. I was I'm 5'7". That's tall. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, no, I would be the elephant, right? The fairy elephant, not the. And I remember I was doing a performance. I had a license to be away from school to perform, and so
Sure.
we were performing in this theatre in London. And when we were rehearsing and auditioning for different parts within the show, there was a scene where the lead was going to be flying, like Tinkerbell,
Okay.
like flying.
Okay.
I so wanted to do that. And they said, no, you're too heavy. And it was like, and they picked somebody who was like a little bird, right? She was so tiny and she floated through the air. And I remember her as she landed, she knocked the two guys off because there's got to be someone to catch you on the other
Yeah.
side because you're
Yeah.
you're flying clearly and you're suspended, right? So I thought when she knocked the guys over, I thought, see, I
I
wouldn't have
could have
knocked them
done
over.
Yeah, I could have done better. Wow. What is a I love that I see this is why I love this podcast because we get to see you for who you are. That is so beautiful. So what what do you feel that oh man, I messed up. I have so many thoughts in my head. Okay, let's just do this. What is a lesson that you have learned being in this industry, working with the caliber of people that you have worked with, that you wish that those people would have understood and learned because you learned it in the beauty industry?
I think passion is huge because all the greats that I've worked with have a phenomenal passion. They are prepared to take a risk.
Mm,
When something goes wrong, they see opportunity. And, you know, for some people, opportunity or a challenge is an obstacle. But when
yeah.
you're an innovator, a challenge is a curiosity, like how do I solve it? They ask a different question. So
Mm,
I think passion is the underlying score, an obsession to keep learning, and I think staying relevant. You've got to stay relevant. So, for example, if I hear a hairdresser say, "Oh, well, my clients won't let me do that. My clients won't let me cut their hair short," so then my narrative back would be, well, first of all, I would look at that person's image because if they're mirroring long hair and they're saying my clients won't let me do that, they're projecting long hair and they're getting the long coming back. And I'm fine with long hair, but if you're complaining about it, then
mhm.
the whole thing is, well, are you really doing a great consultation? Like I had a client come in where she had quite a heavy jawline and her hair was terribly spindly, like around here, very
Mm,
thin.
mhm.
And she showed me a photograph of a bob. So the bob would have given her heavy jawline, would have made it even more boxy. So I vogue around the face. So I took her hair and I lifted it up off of her face and I got rid of all of the hair and I started voguing and I started making shapes and I'm like lifting it up like this and saying, look what
Mm.
happens when we do this and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And so the lady who was saying trim, I ended up cutting 14 inches off, and the first section was over the ear because I went right over the top of her ear, and I took it into very short, snug in the back, and I did this lovely sort of sexy sweep in the front.
Yes.
And she said, and I've done this so many times where the client just says, I feel like you just gave me a facelift. Now, I rehearsed it, I showed them, and afterwards I filmed and I got them to give me a testimony back, and they all say the same thing. Vivienne showed me how it would look,
Hmm.
shaped my hair and showed me, and I got to see the lift, and I got to see how I look more oval as
Yeah.
opposed to boxy. And I designed to face shape. So hairdressers generally are not taught to recognize face shape and how to balance the face shape and how to take that client on that journey as she clearly is
Hmm.
maturing.
Yeah.
So these hairdressers, they see problems as an opportunity for something exciting. And they have high standards. They very, very, very high standards. And you know what? If you want to be great, you've got to surround yourself with brilliant people.
That's
Got to.
right. That's right. What has been your favorite insult that you have ever gotten that is just your driver at this point? You're so proud that you got this insult.
Well, I suppose it would go back to the early days of being a perfectionist, too technical.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm very sensitive to that. I was working on a collection, and Trevor Sorbie came over from London, and this collection was going to go around the United States. And I'd been working on it for like a couple of weeks. And he walked into the room, and all these hair pieces had been created. And he looked and he said, He said, there's a fine line between creativity and bad taste. And I said to him, all I asked, I said, which one am I? He said, bad taste. And
That's great.
he said, you tried too hard. You didn't know when to stop. You didn't know when to stop.
Mm.
And I remember thinking it wasn't good enough, so add something else. And it wasn't good enough and add something else. So instead of it looking like fashion, it
Yeah.
started to look like Halloween.
Oh.
Halloween, who cares, right?
Right, right, right.
Often today, I judge a lot of competitions, and and I'm very honest with the organizers of these competitions, and because they're the ones responsible for giving the description of what a category is going to be, the do's, the don'ts, the rules. And
Mhm.
so there was one I judged just recently, and she said, well, what did you think? I said it was all Halloween hair. I said you've got to pivot and talk about fashion, and it would be really interesting if you added beauty to it, because nobody comes into a salon wanting a tree on their head, horns, and other strange things, objects. That is like 20 things opposed to one, and I think it shows incredible confidence when you can do minimal and
Yeah.
stop.
Are you the Simon Cowell of the competitions?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you love it?
Yeah, well, I want to be kind,
Sure.
but I can't say something's fabulous when it's not. I can appreciate the creativity. I can say
Yeah.
that that person was super creative, but they didn't have guardrails to sort of say, now I've gone overboard, because maybe those three techniques should have been on three different models, and then
Mhm.
it could have been gorgeous. So that's art direction again. And that's
Mhm.
what I'm really good at doing, because I've been around it all these years. And now I just want to help hairdressers elevate and do beautiful work and identify, what's my signature look? What do I stand for? What do I
Yeah.
want sitting in my chair? If you don't promote it, you're not going to get it. And so many times, I'm sure you must come across this a lot, where
Mhm.
people, when they talk about their Instagram, they usually say, oh, I don't like it. I don't like my page. I don't like how it looks. I don't like how mine looks. Because if I
That
could
is
have my way, it would be not about do this because more people comment. It would be I'm doing this because I actually like it. So I have one page that's just my work. And it's like, I don't, I just want to put that work there as a gallery. This other stuff is driven by an algorithm, and because I'm not doing this for a hobby. This is business,
Right.
right?
This is business. Yep.
Unfortunately, I mean, it's brutal.
It is brutal. It's, oh my goodness. It is another job to everything else that we already do, 100%. With that being said, and we talked a lot about perfectionism, and we talked a lot about not being good enough. How do you nourish yourself?
Horses.
Horses. Oh my goodness. Dance and horses. And what else do you do, Miss Vivienne? Are you a trapezist as well? Like what's
Like
happening?
I do exercise a lot, but yeah, horses are a very important part of my life. I do dressage, which is like dancing with horses. I just came
Yeah.
back from Portugal. I did a week in this incredible place. I rode a stallion. I rode side by side with an Olympian, which was freaky because it's one thing to watch an Olympian on TV,
Yeah.
have them right by your side with these powerful horses. I felt like I was a chihuahua. And this guy's on this massive stallion and he's like doing all these Olympic movements, right? He's
That
doing
is so
high,
cool.
high level. And I'm the
Yeah.
chihuahua. I'm on a stallion too. And my little stallion is like kind of like upset that he's a big stallion and we're a baby stallion. And there was a little scene, to be perfectly honest. I'm lucky that I survived it. But yeah,
Oh,
I love horses. I love being in nature. I love having a massage. I have a wonderful husband. I love going for walks, but I love being around horses. They're my
that's
love.
cool. That's cool. And I would imagine from our discussion today, but how proud of your husband of you? Like, does he just brag on you? Like, "Oh, my wife is Vivienne McKinder." No?
No, no,
No.
no. I mean, he came to a Naha when I won, and he he was just very observant of like how people were and so on and so forth. And he was expecting like, okay, you just got the Lifetime Achievement Award, so that surely must mean your business is going to like explode. The reverse
Uh-huh.
happened. The reverse. It was almost like I became untouchable. It's like, no, I'm still here. I still do hair. I'm still normal. I still screw up. And it actually, and so he then thought, this is all smoke and mirrors. This is like phony. And he is not around. He does not, he likes, he's a very spiritual man. He likes purity, simple, doesn't like ego. He likes
Love it.
humility, doesn't like
Mm,
bragging. So he doesn't even
okay.
like this award thing, which I don't do anymore. But he no, yeah, he's the one that says, "Where's the bird going to sit?" So he's very honest.
He grounds you.
Yeah, I
I
said
that
to him the other day, I showed him a photograph of when we got married 21 years ago, and I actually don't look that much different to then. I mean, obviously, not as tight, clearly. I'm not talking about my knees, but anyway. Um, so I said to him, right, this haven't really changed that much. I mean, I'm not
oh,
talking
no.
about myself. He said to me, when did you last look in the mirror? I thought that was funny.
Yes, but it's also like, wow.
Yeah, it's funny.
Goodness, I love you, right? Like,
Yeah,
oh
and then
my
if I
lord.
wear a dress that get myself dressed up, and then I walk in waiting for the compliment, I said, "Would you like my dress?" He says, "Well, I've seen it before." I go,
My God.
"Yeah." So but he doesn't believe in that.
Right.
He calls it the evil eye. So he doesn't believe in compliments. He says, surely you can look at yourself in the mirror and know how you look. Why do you need me to endorse it? You should know yourself. So that's his premise.
Know
It's not that
yourself.
he's mean. He's not. He's a kind
Right.
man. And he'll just say, you should just be happy within yourself. You shouldn't be dressing for somebody else. You should just do it for you. And when you look in the mirror, you know, right? You just know.
Yeah.
And he says, you're seeking a compliment. I mean, yes, it's called being a woman.
But that's really good. Know yourself to the point that you are sufficient with or without a compliment. I love that. Genuinely. Oh, okay. We covered a lot. Would you say we covered quite a bit in topics? What What's a question that I did not ask? And how would you have answered?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. Uh, what would that be? I don't know. What would that be? I'm trying to think. I'm thinking about creativity. I'm thinking about, I mean, we're all in this craft to learn and grow, and we're all in this craft to work smarter and not harder. And we have to work with technology as our friend, not our
Mm.
enemy, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And we have to find the joy in the moment, because we can push so hard and not have the joy.
Yeah.
So I think finding the fun, finding the joy is, and gratitude is a practice to be grateful for some of the challenges. I mean, I remember one very difficult job I did. It was a very affluent lady. It was a wedding. It was a multi-million dollar wedding. And I did the hair and it was very difficult, very demanding, very difficult. And I got paid a lot of money in cash. And I thought, I just sold my soul.
Mm.
I was so It was such a toxic environment, and there was no gratitude, there was no kindness. It was just cranky, 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 cranky,
Yeah.
cranky mindset. And I thought, this is really sad. Where's the love? There's no love in this room right now. And it was
Mm.
just highly, like, some people process stress and tension and they brings out the aggressiveness. And this was very aggressive.
Yeah.
And the organizer of the wedding came up to me. She said, "Oh, you've done a phenomenal job. Would you like to do more of these?" And I said, "No, thank you."
Absolutely not.
I walked down the street. I remember I walked down the street, Madison Avenue, with all this money, and I cried. I just thought it wasn't worth it because how I felt was so right. And
Yeah.
so when you're in situations like that, so now I have that discernment. Like, if it's not going to bring joy, I'm not going to do it. If you know, even if
Mm.
the days when they would be like pay a lot of money, it would be, it's just not worth it because
Mhm.
I want to work with beautiful people, happy people. I want to bring joy, especially today. I want to
Mhm.
create happiness. I want to create beauty. And if that's not going to be happening, then I'd rather not participate. And
Yeah.
saying no sometimes is the most beautiful thing you can do because you protect yourself.
Yeah.
You have somebody that's, I had one client that was so difficult in New York where I said to her, um, I've tried very hard to please you, and I really feel I cannot. And that makes me sad. So I would like to recommend somebody else to you that I think will serve you better than I can. In fact,
Beautiful.
I would like to make the phone call and introduce you, and so that you're all sorted out. And then it was like this defensive posture. Oh no, I know you're going to fire me. And well, that wasn't even my thought process. I mean, yes, I
Yeah.
want to do her again, but she had the terminology.
Mm.
And so I said, yes, I am. I said, so that you can have a better experience with somebody else. She said, I know I'm difficult. Please, please, please don't fire me. I said, I have to. And I want
Wow.
you to be with someone who can serve you. I cannot. So I didn't blame her. I took the responsibility and I
Mhm.
walked away feeling so liberated because whenever I would see her in my book, I would go, oh gosh, no. She's
Yeah.
such a difficult and there are people out there that significance and certainty is the most important thing for them. I have to feel significant. It's all about
Mhm.
me, and I have to be certain that you're going to do all you're going to do. And that's a very controlling energy, right?
Mhm.
Versus if you have a client that lives in the uncertainty, she's about, well, let's try it. We don't know if it'll work, but let's try it. They're much more open and curious and playful. So when you look at that significance and I need to be sure, that's a very rigid, controlling person. And the
Yeah.
only way to break through that is to educate and to be such an authority and an expert that
Mm.
your knowledge transforms that into a place of trust. Because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, there are only three things that count for a woman.
Okay. What are
Safety,
they?
first of all. I have to
Yes.
feel safe. I have to feel safe. I have to be seen. I want you to
Mm.
see me for who I am, not who I'm not. And I have to be heard. Well,
Mm.
you act like you heard me, but you didn't hear
Mm.
me. And that woman sitting in your chair needs that from us. And AI can do some pretty amazing things, but when you connect versus communicate,
Mm-hmm.
game changer.
Completely. Completely. What a golden nugget you just like dropped. Yeah. Oh, this is beautiful. Okay, so what is there how do people watching or listening to this episode, if they want to enroll into your classes, where do they go? We're going to put all those links in the notes, but just very quickly, how can they get in touch with you?
They can go to VivienneMcKinder.com. That is my website. It was my name. Um, they can go there and you'll see hair cutting, long hair styling, and you'll see who's sitting in your chair, which is the communication piece that we've been speaking about, actually,
Yeah.
which is the psychology part of client retention and building
Mhm.
a great brand. And we have color there. So that's the site. And if you have questions, the best thing is just to reach out and just book a call and just say, listen, this is what I'm interested in doing. What can you do? So, like, for example, we do a 12-week haircutting challenge. And in 12 weeks, we hit 12 really amazing hairstyles, clippers, precision cutting, and razor work. And we
Mm.
go on that journey. And so the goal is at the end of that, 12 gorgeous images that can be used to promote your brand and take you to the next
Oh,
level. So that's like a 12-week challenge. And we're also
yeah.
just about to launch Who's Sitting in Your Chair 12-week challenge. So in 12 weeks, we go over face shape recognition, style selection, fashion, consultation skills, communication skills. We just did one on the turkey neck, which
Oh,
was super interesting, and chubby bodies. We did that because there are a few chubby bodies out there that need extra love, right? And how do you do that? So we did this whole thing. I even taught them an exercise which came from a plastic surgeon to tighten up the neck through exercise. It's a pretty cool movement.
what?
So we just
Oh,
did that, and so that's and we have quizzes in there like to discover your archetype, and
good.
so it's all there, and so it's a lot of fun, and the fun thing is actually getting to see people, because
Mhm.
it's one thing to go and look at a digital course, but it's lovely to engage and show up. And passive learning
Mm-mm.
doesn't work. You've got
Mm-mm.
to apply it. So
Yeah.
when you watch the video before class, so say you watch the video on my haircut,
Uh-huh.
you watch that, now you're going to recreate it, now you're going to photograph it, you've gone 1 2 3, now you're going to refine it, now you take ownership of it, now you make it your own, now you're growing. So we have people that have done, I have a year's program, but we have people that have done a year's program 5 times, and they,
Oh, wow, how
yes, yeah, they
cool.
just keep coming back and back because they love, because they're the people that are in the class are like-minded. They love learning. They have challenges. I have a lot of colorists that come to haircutting classes because now that they're independent,
Mhm.
their clients are saying, well, would you cut my hair? And they're like, I'm a colorist. And so they are
Yeah.
fantastic because they are now learning new skills. And so I'm teaching them how to put the right look on the right person, because a lot of colorists have been very focused technically in the
Mm.
science of the
Yeah.
craft.
Yeah.
And a lot of colorists don't color to body type. They don't color to face shape. So
Mhm.
the faces have not been a big focus. They're
Right.
foiling, they're balayaging, whatever they're doing, and it's wonderful. But when you're sculpting a design to open, close the face, and when you're creating depth, because hair dressing and hair cutting is a depth, it's all about
Mm.
depth. That the depth
Mhm.
is a silhouette, and most hairdressers don't see depth,
Mm.
not at all.
Oh my goodness. Everybody watching and listening, you need to go sign up right now. Right now. This is gold. Vivienne, thank you for coming on the Beauty Pro podcast.
Thank you,
It has been such an honor and a privilege
thank
to
you,
chat with you today. I really appreciate it.
thank you. Ditto, ditto, ditto. It's been a delight to be with you. You're adorable. I think we should go and have a girls' night out somewhere.
Let's do it. Let's do it. So with that, we're going to wrap it up, and everybody watching and listening, excuse me, because I'm going to go hang out with Vivienne. So talk to you later.